This gives you a little idea of what it's like to have 7 kids. Like everywhere you go, you bring a wheelbarrow of things and like a bag of tricks, right? Thank you, you guys. I'm really excited to be here. I've thought about this topic ever since I was here last year. And if you were here last year, I spoke on intimacy. It was a fun talk. So I just want you guys to think of me as like a big sister. We're sitting here and chatting about girl stuff, okay? But how much time do I have?
You can go 30 minutes, 35 minutes.
Perfect. Okay. I have to really pace myself. Let me give myself a little timer here so I have an idea where I'm at. Yeah, I'm really excited. This is a topic that I've been learning more and more about myself. You would think with 7 kids that I, have a little experience. I do have a little story for you. So I went to Shattern State, and I was married and had 2 boys, and then was divorced. And then I decided to go back to college to get my degree. I was going to be this like independent woman and was going to become a lawyer. And so I'm taking classes, and then I meet my husband, Josh, and we get married, and I got pregnant with my number 3, and I'm still taking classes, and I'm taking a night class, and I don't remember the name, it's like a sex ed class, right? And so I'm showing up to class super pregnant. Can you just give me a passing grade? So anyway, here I am, now that daughter of mine is a senior in high school, which is hard to believe. But yes, so we are going to be talking about your menstrual cycle, ladies. And if you have one takeaway today, please think of your cycle as something beautiful and something totally natural. And full confession, I had 7 kids, never knew how to track my cycles. No one ever told me, no one. And I don't think, like, I'm not angry about it, it's just we don't have a culture that really teaches us how to do that. So we're going to talk about that today, and I really want to just give you guys some tools, things that I've found that have helped me, and I have giveaways, and maybe a quiz. We'll find out. So let's get started. Go ahead and go to the first slide, please. So I'm going to just give you a little, just do the arrow to the right. That should get you. Oh, you might have to click on the screen. Yeah. I forgot to tell you too, I have a video on the other one. When I get to that point, I'll let you know. Yeah, there you go. Okay, so just, we got it. A quick little overview of what I hope for you guys to take away today is, number 1, God created you, and you are wonderfully made. You are not broken. Your body is not fighting you. And we don't have to be afraid. Everything that your body does is a message, and it is telling you something. And I think that we have sort of been ingrained to be afraid. If there's anything weird, we're just like, oh, there's something wrong with me. There's nothing wrong with you, okay? You are beautiful. You've been made wonderful. Number 2, your menstrual cycle is beautiful, and I hope that when you walk away today, you will really see the beauty in that. Also, there are natural ways to support your cycle, and if you feel like you have some brokenness or you're confused, there are things that you can do. So we'll get into that next slide. Yeah, your one takeaway. Your menstrual cycle is beautiful. So these are some of the resources that have helped me. There's a GAPS practitioner, I'll tell you a little bit about GAPS here in a minute, that helped train me. She has a clinic in Loveland, Colorado, and she's phenomenal, but she does see people. If you want a holistic natural health practitioner who's very knowledgeable in this, her name is Amy Mahali. This book, I have a giveaway. It's called Honoring Your Cycles. I will give one away today. If you want to order it, sorry, my glasses are crooked. If you want to order it on Amazon, They're really cheap. They're a couple of bucks. Katie Singer, and then if you guys know who Sally Fallon is, she's one of Sally's, and she wrote the foreword on this. But this has very specific ways of tracking your cycle and very simple things that you can do every day, like checking your temperature, knowing when you're ovulating, because there are things that your body does when you're ovulating. So really recommend this. If you don't get the free one today, order it. It's the simple little workbook. She has charts in here. She explains how to chart. You can just track your cycle every single month and kind of know where you're at and know where you're at in your cycle. And then Dr. Mindy Pels, she's on social media. I don't know if you guys follow her at all. I recommend her. She's written a couple books, Eat Like a Girl, and then she just came out with one called Fast Like a Girl. And so I also recommend, if you're on social media, to follow her. Dr. Stacy has a podcast that I listen to often. She talks a lot about women's hormones and women's health, how to eat. She is the Vibing Well podcast. Also, Modern Ancestral Mamas podcast, another good one. And then Nourishing Traditions. Sally wrote this one years ago, and I've met Sally a couple times. She's phenomenal. She is the founder of the Western Price Foundation, who I'm recently a new chapter leader for the Scottsbluff County. So hopefully in the near future we'll start to have some chapter meetings. It's all about ancestral health and just traditional ways of taking care of your body. I just want to read this introduction to the Nourishing Traditions. So it's a cookbook and a textbook, y'all. Like, it is a wealth of knowledge. But Sally is just amazing. But I'm going to read this. In no period of history as a nation have Americans been so concerned about the subject of diet and nutrition. Yet if we accept the premise that what we eat determines our health, then we must add the observation that in no period of our history as a nation have Americans eaten so poorly. A statement that the most of the cursory survey of current statistics can prove. Although heart disease and cancer were rare at the turn of the century, today these two diseases strike with increasing frequency in spite of billions of dollars in research to combat them. In America, 1 person in 3 dies of cancer. 1 in 3 suffers from allergies. 1 in 10 will have ulcers. 1 in 5 is mentally ill. And we could just go on and on and on. I looked it up on the CDC. I don't think I wrote it down. But fertility rates have decreased like another 4% this last year after decreasing 1 or 2% the year before. So fertility is an issue. And I would like to make the claim that nutrition is connected. So anyway, those are some great resources for you, and that's kind of what I've used for today. So last year, I wanted to connect today to my talk last year. So we kind of talked about the word in the Bible, because we were talking about intimacy. The word to know, because in the Bible they didn't say Adam and Eve had sex. It says they knew each other. Well, that word is yada in Hebrew. And so intimacy is to be known. And it's used throughout the Bible. And so like in Genesis, Adam knew his wife and she became pregnant. In Psalm 139, this word is used 7 times, where God knows us. He knows us intimately. It's used over 900 times in the Old Testament. And then in the New Testament, of course, it's not written in Hebrew, so it's translated to the word gnosko. So it's a little bit more of a logical interpretation, just because the language is more logical than Hebrew. But in Philippians, we have a verse that says that I may know him. And it's a word that's an intimacy word. So just think of, as we get to know the God that made our bodies, he also, I think at some level, wants us to know ourselves. And through that, we can know him even more. He's made us so intricately. And I think he calls us to steward this earthly vessel that we live in. So I'm going to use that theme a little bit through today as well. So a little bit about me, a little intro, because I know some of you didn't know me from last year. Sorry, I'm tripping over my things. I'm just going to move. I'm used to clutter. I'm a mom of 7. This is my family. This is us. My oldest is in the middle there. I'm a grandma, believe it or not, and his wife is in the blue. So that's Malachi and his wife Sydney, and my granddaughter Nala. She is almost 6 months old now. And far to the left is Cadence, and then Ruthie, my senior. Go a little bit to the right in the black. Believe it or not, that's my middle child. And he's bigger than all of us. He's 16, and then down in front is Toby and Amelia, and then in the bottom there is our Olivia. She's our number 5. And so she is what kind of got me a little curious about health and nutrition. But a little bit about me, like I said, I went to college. I thought I was going to be this, cool lawyer. I love research, and I love digging deep into things, but I think God had another plan for that because I decided to be a stay-at-home mom, and I've homeschooled my kids. And then when we had Olivia, number 5, I dug into research. But a couple years ago, I decided to become certified as a GAPS coach. Now GAPS, I won't go into that, but it is the gut and psychology syndrome, gut and physiology syndrome. It's a nutritional protocol. And so about 10 years ago, I found this protocol, and I used it with my daughter. She had a lot of complex issues. She's had a lot of surgeries, a lot of therapies, and we were living day to day wondering if we were going to run off to an emergency room that day. And our lives revolved around clinical visits and going to Denver and having a long list of specialists. And I could spend the whole time talking about her and about our journey with her, but just for our talk today, finding out what she needed nutritionally has allowed us to take her off of epilepsy medication. She no longer has seizures. We also don't have eczema. We don't have specialists that we have to go, and so we've got a lot to be thankful for, but nutrition has been very instrumental in her life. Like I mentioned, Weston Price Foundation is an organization that's just kind of all over the country, and they do a lot of education and activism on just educating people about health. And so just recently we've opened a chapter in this area, and if you want to know more about that, I'd love to talk about it. But God's opened up doors. I've been able to speak at conferences, and I've been able to go tour regenerative farms and just all these opportunities to learn more about taking care of our bodies, taking care of how food is made, all of those things. So my story as a woman, with 7 kids, I just never took birth control. And I just want to give you a little disclaimer here. No, I'm not here to give any judgment or any of that. This is just my story, and I'm also not giving medical advice. I am not a doctor. I teach the GAPS protocol. It's a nutritional thing. It's food. It's just food. And I've been trained in gut health. And we teach that once your gut works, your digestive system works, everything else does. All disease begins with gut health. And if you're not absorbing food properly, you're going to be very deficient. And when deficiencies happen for a very long time, then you end up with some chronic issues. So that's my background. Again, I'm not going to give you any medical advice. But personally, I just never really liked having a pill, and so I just never did. That doesn't mean that I didn't have other problems with my health, but I did have a miscarriage between number 6 and number 7 babies, and I decided I didn't really know what I was doing, but I decided I wanted to go through this miscarriage naturally. And so I did. I was at home and I had this miscarriage. It was painful, it was horrible. And I know this is a very sensitive subject, but I just want you guys to know that I've been through something like this. And then everything was fine. 1 week later, I was picking up my son he would go to the middle school for band, and I was waiting in the parking lot, and I started to get a little cramping. I thought, oh, that's weird, because I'd been fine for the last week. I thought, well, maybe it's just, a little bit of things still happening. Maybe I'm still kind of going through that process. I didn't know what I was doing. By the time, this was about 12:30, by the time I got home, and by 2:30, I was being rushed to the emergency room. I was hemorrhaging. And I get to the emergency room, and there was just issues. Anyway, I ended up losing 3/4 of my blood, and they didn't even check my blood type. They were pumping water into me, and I fainted, and I almost died from having a miscarriage. And I'm thankful today for the nurses that were there, the Life Flight crew that came in. I didn't get Life Flight, but they came in because they knew what they were doing. And so, I think it's important for us to know our bodies and to know the process, know our needs. But it's hard, right? Where do you find that information, and who do you talk to about it? It's complicated, so I understand. But yes, so miscarriage is difficult, but knowing your body's needs are important. As far as my personal menstrual cycle, like I said, nobody ever taught me how to track it. We just kind of knew, if we didn't want to have a baby, then there's things you can do to make sure you're not having a baby. But if we wanted a baby, then we didn't do those things, right? That's basically what I knew. So I always embraced natural ideas, but I didn't really have the tools to know how to do it. Anyway, as far as PMS, as the years went on, I noticed I would have more and more PMS symptoms, like mood swings was the big one. About a week before my cycle, I had a couple very low days, low. And that was kind of the majority. I didn't have a lot of cramping or a lot of nausea, those kinds of things, but mood was a big one. So go ahead, next slide. Okay, so thank you. If you were able to do, I love to get a little feedback. So if you were able to do some of the questions, this is our feedback. How old were you when you had your first cycle? Most people were between the ages 13 to 16. Most of you learned how to care for your body from your mom. And difficulty getting pregnant, yes, there was 24% miscarriages is in that same percentage. Where did you get education about health and hormones? A lot of you said your own self-study. Some of the rest of you, for the most part, brochures at a doctor's office. 8% was formal education. And a few of you said you have no idea where to even start. And then I did a little quiz on what are the best hormone-supporting foods. And bravo, 66% of you said eggs. So good job. 38% of you said butter. So good job. And we have a couple of randoms I threw in there. And again, it's like, nutrition is tricky, okay? But I'm just gonna say, salads are not bad, but they're not gonna help your hormones, okay? And again, they're not bad, but if you're having hormonal health, stay away from salads, okay? Stick with the butter and eggs. We'll talk briefly about why that is. Go ahead. Okay, real brief. GAP's nutritional protocol is holistic. Holistic meaning the whole body. So when we talk about something, we're going to take into consideration everything. So we've kind of been taught to separate your body into different systems. Like, oh, you've got a circulatory system, you've got a muscular system, You have a digestive system. However, if you break your toe, it is, sure, there's going to be a fracture there, but it's going to affect you emotionally. It's going to affect, like, you've got inflammation. It's just going to affect the whole body. So that's what holistic health is. It's just considering one thing is not its own separate thing. It affects every part of the body. Go ahead. Okay, hormones. So people go to college for this stuff, so we're not going to get real deep. But what you need to take away today is hormones are chemicals your body makes. We know of about 50 of them, and maybe you're scanning that, and some of them you recognize, but just know they're made in different organs all over your body. If you don't have, like some people get their thyroid taken out, your body compensates, like you can make hormones. Your gut is a big part of the hormonal process. A lot of your hormones are made in your gut. Serotonin is like a happy hormone. Like 85% of your serotonin is made in your gut. So if you have gut problems, you're going to have depression problems. As far as women's health, sex hormones, estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, those are hormones. You probably recognize the names of those. Other hormones, insulin is a hormone. I don't have it on here, but believe it or not, vitamin D is a hormone. It's not actually a vitamin. It's a hormone the body makes. It's a chemical. So, go ahead to the next.